Yeah, this is something else that's been on my mind. So I get a lot of emails, as you know, and I tell you that all the time. I get a lot of emails. I get a lot of, hey, check out this video. Hey, check out that video. Right Wing Watch apparently seems to be very, very popular with people. And so I get a lot of right wing watch clips, and then of course my algorithm goes, "Oh, you like right wing watch? Well, here's another one for you." And I do. They're able to very concisely show us some really ridiculous things. This was another one of those really ridiculous things. There's going to be another one tomorrow, by the way. But this one's different. This is a conversation that a panel is having, and one of their panelists, a guy named Tony Suarez, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, where Tony shares his belief. That's Tony there on the far right. Far right of my screen, so far right of your screen, and Tony's talking about on this show Flashpoint. The commentator mentions how the Democratic Party seems to be falling apart, that they're their own worst enemy, that they can't get out of their own way, that the public has come forward and the public has said we're not into these gender identities, this identity politics stuff, this trans stuff. And he's like, the Democrats just can't let it go. Do they know that they're destroying themselves? And then Tony Suarez, he opines, he offers his thoughts. And it really, what it comes down to, he says is, in the Bible, there's a story where Saul is told to completely wipe out his enemy, and he doesn't, and God is mad. And then he says, I'm not talking about violence necessarily, which is chilling. Just that necessarily is chilling, but he's not talking about violence necessarily. But he said this is the time where conservative Christians, we need to seize the moment. I'm paraphrasing. We need to seize the moment, and we need to completely destroy the Democratic Party. Now, this isn't a panel of Republicans, though I suspect they all vote Republican. This is a panel of Christians. And in his opinion, Suarez says conservative Christians need to destroy the Democrats. They need to destroy their enemies. They need to destroy those who would vote in a different direction. And no. Jesus at no point ever tells us that we have to destroy our political adversaries. He at no point tells us we need to. He at no point tells us that we need to that we need to think of others as enemies because of who they vote for. Jesus never tells us to destroy. Jesus never tells us to wipe out. Jesus never tells us to obliterate. Jesus never speaks to us the same way as we hear God represented in the Old Testament speaking. Never speaks to us that way. Never, as a matter of fact, speaks to us exactly the opposite way, and many times where you should love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. You should feed your enemies. You should clothe your enemies. You should give your enemies something to drink when they are thirsty. These are the things that Jesus says. Never that you should obliterate your political opponents. You should call that you should seek the destruction of someone who votes the other way. So no, conservative Christians, this is not the path that you're called to. If anything, conservative Christians, you are called to pray for liberals. And I mean sincerely. I don't mean the, oh, bless their heart kind of way. I mean sincerely, you're called to pray for them. You're called to pray for them as people in this chat will sometimes say that we should be praying for Trump. Conservative Christians, you are called to be Christian. That's where our identity is found. A Christian can vote whichever direction they like. Jesus doesn't give us any indication of who we should vote for. A Christian can support whatever political action they like. Jesus never tells us. What he tells us is that we should follow him, and we should follow his call, and we should follow his purpose and his ministry. And I think doing so means that we should be following earthly leaders and authorities who best represent the values and the ideals of Jesus Christ. And you, as a Christian, you get to decide who that is. I may disagree with you, but you get to decide who that is without me calling for your destruction. I may not like who you vote for. I may despise who you vote for. I may not like the political party you are contributing to, or the political party you are endorsing, or the political party that you are supporting, the political party that you're giving your money to, or the political party you're raising funds for. I may not like them at all. I may think they're garbage. Right? Like I may think their policies are damaging. I may think that their policies and their vision is erroneous. I may think that it's unloving. I may think that it's uncaring. I may think that it's ungodly. And at this exact same time, I do not think that way about you. And I do not think of you as my enemy. You know, these guys, they talk about living the Christian life as though it's some kind of war, right? In this case, that's kind of what he's getting at. It's like, okay, yeah, we've had this great victory, and now as we go into the midterms and then into the next presidency, we've got to completely destroy our enemy. It's not a war. It's not a war. And no, you do not need to destroy your enemy. When it comes to politics, you need those voices. Because ultimately what this comes down to is we need to destroy anybody who disagrees with the way we're going to do things. Well, if that's the case, you're never going to do anything different. And if you don't do something different, the world doesn't get better. There's no growth. There's no growth when you live there's no growth when you live in a vacuum of ideas. You need the ideas of others. It's frustrating to me. You know, it's frustrating to me to think that there's an aspect of Christianity, that there's a group within Christianity that is opposed to different ideas, a group within Christianity that thinks different ideas and different understandings is wrong and it's bad and it's vile. It bothers me that there's a group within Christianity, a population within Christianity, a fairly large segment of people within Christianity that stand opposed to different opinion, different understandings, different ideals, different values, different moralities, different hopes and visions, methodologies. When as Christians we follow a guy who we like to praise, who we like to worship as Christians, who we like to proclaim as this free thinker with all kinds of new and wild and crazy ideas. Though oftentimes all he did was quote the Old Testament and just showed them to us in a completely new way. We recognize him as this rebel against the established religious establishment of his day. The established religious order of his day. We see him as this rebel. We see him as this purveyor of new ideas and new thoughts and new understandings and a new way of being. And then today in our world we go, yeah, but we can't have new ideas. Come on. Come on. You know, I'll say this because it's Friday, and I can. I hear from people all the time who give me the whole left-right thing. Well, the left does it too. I don't hear Christians on the left talking about Christianity as though we are at war with people of different ideas and different understandings. I don't hear Christian preachers. I don't hear Christian bishops. I don't hear Christian pastors who may have a tendency to lean more to the progressive side, who might, like me, say they are progressive, who would hope to be truly progressive. I don't hear them saying we have to destroy the conservative right, the Christian conservative, the conservative Christian. I don't hear that from our side. I think the main reason is that we're not afraid. We're not afraid that there's different ideas. I can disagree, and I can call out, and I can speak about my disagreement, and I can say this is wrong, but I don't call for anybody's destruction. I don't call for anybody's silence. I don't call for anybody's oppression. You don't hear it from this side of things because we're not afraid of a different understanding. We're not afraid of a different value. We're not afraid of a different ideal. This isn't a war for us because we don't see the need to kill, to maim. We don't see the need to obliterate people who see things differently than ourselves. But when these guys, they get talking, they get talking about this stuff, that's what I hear in their voices. I hear fear. They're terrified of the Christian left. They're terrified of progressive understandings and progressive dreams and progressive values. They're terrified. They're afraid. Of all the things that I would say are unchristian, fear of the other, fear of a new idea, fear of a new understanding, fear of a new way of seeing the world, fear of a new dream. Of all the things that I would say are unchristian, those things are unchristian. Those fears are unchristian, especially when they lead us to want to destroy another. Amen.